This is MajorTv and this is brought to you by Major. Like and subscribe to get your notifications. Couldn't do it without you, need your full participation. And we giving back, this is your appreciation. Tune in daily, get your positive vibrations. Learn different words in your own native language. Learn being black ain't all about slavery. Put that in the school book, it's part of education. We need to rewrite it, need some better information. Like how we built the pyramids and formed our own nation. Visit different continents and then try to invade them. Way before Columbus, but that ain't none of these pages. It's all just rumors, just a bunch of speculation. But why in every myth, every hero is Caucasian. Even white people starting to say this shit is racist. Like how they talking to blacks for this vaccination. This is MajorTv and this is brought to you by Major. Like and subscribe to get your notifications. Do it without you, need your full participation. And we giving back, this is your appreciation. This is MajorTv and this is brought to you by Major. Like and subscribe to get your notifications. Do it without you, need your full participation. And we giving back, this is your appreciation. Appreciate the views and appreciate the comments. Keeping it real, always giving you this content. Hoping that my people don't take nothing out of context. Giving you
positive vibration and good day to you all. This is Major. Thank you for tuning MajorTv. Let's talk. I want to thank everybody for tuning in live. Thank you for coming through. We have a great discussion about to happen tonight. If you're tuning in, like and share this live. Like and share this live. We need to get the word out. When information is provided to our community, we should make sure everybody here we have to say, especially along the line of self-determination and community building. Too many times we talk the talk, we don't walk the walk. Y'all know Brother Ramzu Yunus for his self-determination movement he got going on in Detroit, and among everything with large distinguishable resume. I see y'all coming through. I just want to thank y'all, but more importantly, I want to bring this brother up. I don't even have him in the background too long. Y'all know I'm going to shout y'all out in a minute, but this is Brother Ramzu Yunus. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.
Salute. Alaikum salam. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. Better than I ever been.
Yeah. This brother right now is in West Africa, right?
And I'm in Central Africa. It's called Central African Republic.
All right, yeah. So he's overseas, broadband. It's kind of difficult. Normally I will go through the comments, but I'm gonna save it in the show. So we're gonna respect the fact that we gotta understand that we have internet issues over there in the motherland. But anyway, how you doing first and foremost? We miss you, man. We ain't seen you in a while. How you doing? What's going on?
Oh man, I'm fantastic. I'm fantastic. A lot of things are underway, of course, to our benefit. The world is so-called in apparel, but it's not an apparel for us. It's actually to our benefit. So, but I'm doing great over here. I'm over here because of over there. I'm not over here on vacation or anything, but everyone will find out that later.
Okay.
Get to the nature of this business.
Okay. The topic is what we can learn from Ukraine and the war. We know that's very popular all over the media, nationally, internationally, about the invasion of Russia of Ukraine and what have you. If you don't mind, would you like to talk briefly about understanding what's going on before we go into the gist of what's up?
Okay. Well, of course, there's a lot of opinions, so we got to listen to not the media, but listen to the person who's engaging in the war, who's leading the war. What's his reason? What does he say his reason is for engaging in that war? We can come up with all kinds of assumptions, which a lot of people have, even going viral on TikTok and everything with crazy assumptions on why this war is happening. But according to the reason of the person who's leading the war, President Putin, it is verified what he says. His reason, he said that he's invading Ukraine because Ukraine, as well as NATO, including America and those other nations, violated an agreement that they made many, many years ago that Ukraine would not join NATO and, in a nutshell, have nuclear weapons and tools of war on the border, from the enemy on the border with Russia, just like when Fidel Castro had got weapons from the Soviet Union, nuclear weapons from the Soviet Union. There was it was the Cuban Missile Crisis. America was ready to blow Cuba off the map because it had weapons of its enemy right next door to the country called the United States. So they had an agreement not to do the same with Russia. But of course, America's never honors agreements. So they ended up joining NATO, or getting Ukraine to join NATO and putting weapons on that border with Russia. So he's invading to stop that threat that's against his country. That's his reason. And it actually, whatever he said, those facts are out there. They did join nation. They are working with the nations of NATO in the West, other parts of Europe and America against Russia. So that's his reasoning for doing that. But of course, that's not what we're here for, to comment on why or why not, whose side we're on. We're here to talk about what we can learn from Ukraine, a jewel that's inside that whole situation, that if we extracted that jewel from Ukraine, then we would be free, we'd be independent, we'd have justice overnight and prosperity overnight as Black people in America. That's what we're here to talk about.
Well, shout out to Ray Sean, aka Antoine Irvin, for the super chat. What's up, brother Major and Rum B1 first? Thank you so much for the constant donation support, brother Ray Sean Irvin. Antoine, thank you, brother. Appreciate you coming through. And I want to thank everybody that's tuned in. Thank you so much again. Like and share this live. Discussion is, what can we learn from Ukraine? We have Brother Ramzu Yunus right now here in Central Africa, negotiating, making moves to come on the shores and really help the people with real solutions, with real activities going on, and not just talk. Well, let me say this. What can we learn from them? I mean, because I know you had some links in the description, and I was checking it out very deep. And I like what you shared too, my brother.
Yes, I don't know if you can share the screen, but
I could do it. I can go to my own. I can pull it up for you, brother. I'm about to go.
Yes. Pull up the one from Wikisource, the Declaration of Independence of Ukraine, if you can.
All right, got this one here. I'm gonna share it. Right here.
All right, everyone looking. Yeah, there it is. The Declaration of Independence of Ukraine.
My bad.
Declaration. It went away. There you go.
Gotcha.
Let's read this right, because we're going to be quick. I don't know. I'm in Central Africa. I don't know how long this megabytes or gigabytes may last me. But this is called the Declaration of Independence of Ukraine. It's only like 2 sentences or something like that. And of course, declaration is the most powerful act for a people. It's the most powerful act, of course, in the history of America. Let's read Ukraine's declaration right quick. Like I said, we can get a jewel from this whole situation. That jewel is not whose side to be on, but it's a jewel in this. Listen, this is the Declaration of Independence. Let me read it. In view of the mortal danger surrounding Ukraine in connection with the state coup in USSR on August 19, 1991, continuing the 1,000-year tradition of state development in Ukraine, proceeding from the right of a nation to self-determination in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations and other international legal documents, and implementing the Declaration of State Sovereignty of Ukraine, the Verkhovna Rada of the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic solemnly, that's like the leadership of it, declares the independence of Ukraine and the creation of an independent Ukrainian state. Ukraine, the territory of Ukraine is indivisible and inviolable. From this day forward, only the Constitution and laws of Ukraine are valid on the territory of Ukraine. This act becomes effective at the moment of its approval. That's their Declaration of Independence. They said, look, we just declare independence. Why we declare independence? Look at bullet point number 2. Proceeding from the right of a nation to self-determination in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations and other international legal documents. Proceeding. So they took this action, they proceeded because they have a right of self-determination. So they can, at any time, they could just simply stand up and declare their independence. And they chose that time to stand up as a people in Ukraine and to declare independence from the Soviet Union. As Major just said, our movement is the movement of self-determination. Self-determination is the only guaranteed prescription in international law for an oppressed people to get free, to get justice, because they can just simply declare independence and give themselves justice. The point we're making here is the right of self-determination. Ukraine simply asserted their right of self-determination. So they should really, a lot of us are talking about feeling sorry for Ukraine, but really Ukraine should be feeling sorry for us, because here's a population of people in Ukraine. They didn't go through slavery. They're not suffering. They wasn't suffering racism, systemic injustice. They wasn't suffering wrongful convictions, police brutality, gentrification, all kinds of injustices on a daily basis. They just disagreed with a political move that the government was making. So they said, look, we're going to assert our right of self-determination to stand up and just govern ourselves because we don't agree. And here we go, the worst treated population in the history of mankind, and probably alien kind as well. Just stand up where we live. Instead of protesting in Minneapolis, to the protesting in Ferguson, Detroit, Atlanta, wherever we live, I don't care if it's just 6 blocks like white folks did in Seattle a year and a half ago. We can simply stand up and assert our right of self-determination and give ourselves justice. It's another link I think I sent you, Comrade Major. It's another Wikipedia about, no, I don't know if I sent that one. But bring up the Atlantic Charter anyway. We're gonna be getting somewhere, everybody. Bear with us. We should learn from this situation. Stop commenting on a fight that we ain't got no dog in.
It's cool right here. You want to go down? Got 3 more. Got 2 more after this.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. Just bring that. This is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. As the Declaration of Independence of Ukraine said, it said we proceed from a nation's right to self-determination in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations and other international legal documents. This is the international legal document that they're talking about. It's the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. If you go down to Article 1, the first thing it says is all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Meaning they have a right to choose their political status and say, look, we're independent. The founding fathers stood up in 1776 and said, look, our political status is independent. We don't agree with the way the British government is treating us. And we are the majority on this territory, and we reflect the popular will of the people. So as long as you reflect the popular will of the people, you can declare independence. For instance, when we were marching and protesting in Ferguson, if the people were in agreement, and I'm sure the majority of people in Ferguson were in agreement against the government, against police, they could have simply stood up and said, look, we declare independence. That's the popular will of the people. We don't like the way this government is treating us. If black people everywhere said, look, we don't like the government, the way the government is treating us, we want monetary reparations. We want an ending of gentrification, of police brutality, of wrongful convictions. If that's the popular will of the people, we have a right to say, look, we declare independence. That's called the right of self-determination. I'm going to read it again. All peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their own economic, social, and cultural development. That's what the people of Ukraine did in 1991. In 1991, not because they were oppressed like we were, but because they didn't agree with some political decisions that that were happening by leadership in the USSR, but the Soviet Union. They thought those moves were going to endanger them. They were going to be in danger. We are already in danger. We are already dying over here in America. So why are we not making the same move that Ukraine made? And now we're in support The American government itself is in support of Ukraine. But just last year, now you can bring up that Atlantic Charter for me, Comrade Major. Just last year, President Biden signed what's called the New Atlantic Charter. The New Atlantic Charter. To affirm or to reaffirm America's commitment to the old Atlantic Charter. Atlantic Charter was a document signed about, that's the New Atlantic Charter right there. That's President Biden meeting with his counterpart, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, London, England, Ireland, etc. That's his counterpart. They signed a New Atlantic Charter to reaffirm commitment to what? To the old Atlantic Charter. Now bring up the old Atlantic Charter, Comrade Major.
All right.
It should be the Avalon Project out of Yale Law School. That's the website it was on. That's what this is, Atlantic Charter that Biden signed and unless I can share the screen if I can.
I got you.
Okay. We're getting somewhere. There's some Jews right here. Atlantic Charter. This is from, what website is that from? Look at the website that come from.
Oh.
Yale.edu. Yale. They got a copy of the Atlantic Charter, 1941. It's a very short document, but I'm only going to get to point number 3. This is, when they say they're talking about the President of the United States representing his government. I'm just going to read the first sentence first. The President of the United States of America and the Prime Minister, Mr. Churchill, representing His Majesty's government in the United Kingdom, being met together, deem it right to make known certain common principles in the national policies of their respective countries on which they base their hopes for a better future for the world. This is national policies, common principles. It's in the national policy of the United States and the United Kingdom. Third, they respect the right of all peoples to choose the form of government under which they will live. And they wish to see sovereign rights and self-government restored to those who have been forcibly deprived of them. Of course, when we're talking about Ukraine, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, Ukraine was forcibly deprived of their sovereign rights and their self-government, and they became part of Russia and only declared independence recently in 1991. Also, hundreds of years ago, there was a population that were treated a lot worse than the Ukrainian people, who were enjoying sovereign rights, who were enjoying self-government, but they were forcibly deprived of it. I think we may know who those people are I'm talking about. That's black people in America. Did not we have sovereign rights, or were we slaves when they conquered us? We were free people. We had sovereign rights. So here goes the president of America in 80 years ago, in 1941, 81 years ago. And now Joe Biden just reaffirmed commitment to this last year. So they respect the right of all peoples to choose the form of government under which they will live, which is the right of self-determination. And they wish to see sovereign rights and self-government restored to those who have been forcibly deprived of them. So black people, I'm just making a point here. There's something it's a jewel in this situation. You can stop sharing the screen if you want to, Comrade Major. There's a jewel in the situation about Ukraine, and it ain't whose side is who on and who's the best and who's right, who's wrong, whether we should root for Russia, root for Ukraine. Got rappers wanting to support. They're raising hundreds of millions of dollars in cryptocurrency for Ukraine. But Ukraine are a sovereign people, a people who had sense enough to assert their right of self-determination. That's all we're talking about. Look at that point in this whole situation. Extract that jewel from this whole situation, that Ukraine, simply because they didn't agree with the government. They were not being abused. The human rights were not being abused. They just didn't agree with some of the moves that the government was making that they considered would endanger them. So here we go, facing all kinds of human rights abuse, endangered on a not minute by minute, not even second by second. We just permanently endangered population. And we have a right of self-determination to stand up where we are and say, look, we declare independence. When Ukraine declared their independence in 1991, after they declared their independence, they took over the territory. They seized all the properties of the government. They seized all the property. So there we go. If we declare independence where we are, we have $15 trillion minimum of real estate value to seize, and then we give ourselves monetary reparations. They freed the prisoners in Ukraine. So we're talking about wrongful conviction. If we assert our right of self-determination, just like Ukraine did, we can free our political prisoners. We can free our prisoners who have been wrongfully convicted and excessively convicted. With it.
I'm sorry, y'all know he's in Republic of Africa, so hopefully it come back. We're back on, brother.
Okay, we back on. Let me check. Let me check what my megabytes are.
Brother Ramzu.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
All right.
Can everyone hear me?
We hear you,
Everyone
but
hear
you're
me?
an android, a robot.
Oh man, this is
We hear you,
considered
but you're a little distorted.
it's considered the
Oh, we
poorest
hear you
country
now.
in the
We hear you
world.
now.
So the internet access is not that great. That's why I'm trying to go fast and make this point quickly because we might get cut off. But you can't hear me now, comrade.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, everyone. That's the point we're making, everyone. That's the jewel that's trying to use the camera then. I think the camera keeps making that happen. The jewel in the situation of Ukraine is the fact that they declared their independence. They asserted their right of self-determination. It's also a document we always share out of Princeton University. Everyone can write this document down and then look it up. It's called We the Peoples, The Strange Demise of Self-Determination, written out of Princeton, a scholar from Princeton University and Tel Aviv University. And it describes and explains how the government will connive and make sure that people don't talk about self-determination. Because prior to the 70s, that was the only solution that oppressed people talked about. They didn't talk about voting inside of an oppressive system that they are a minority in. They didn't talk about marching, about boycotting. They didn't talk about economic empowerment. They didn't talk about having all the trillion-man marches or the formations, etc. I'm not putting that down, but that's not a prescription according to common sense or according to law. The people prior to 1970, the only solution, guaranteed solution, was self-determination. That was the only guaranteed solution for Ukraine. It was the only guaranteed solution for the founding fathers of America, and 100 and almost 200 other peoples and countries around the world. So, as this author explains out of Princeton University, we have been bamboozled. We have been hoodwinked into talking about everything else, seeking any solution besides just simply asserting our right of self-determination. But now we have jewels right in our face, like the situation in Ukraine and the fact that Ukraine asserted their right of self-determination. So don't sympathize with Ukraine. Ukraine should be sympathizing with us because we won't simply do what they do. Their Declaration of Independence was about two sentences. Two sentences. They said, we declare independence based on our right of self-determination. So we have a right of self-determination, people. So if you don't want to continue with the police brutality or terrorism by police, you don't want to continue with gentrification, you don't want to continue with the fact that you're in perpetual poverty and we need monetary reparations. If you don't want to continue with a systemic genocide, then let's simply stand up where we live. We don't have to go off anywhere, buy no land, go into the middle of the woods, middle of the desert. Where we live, if you are a majority where you at, whether it be Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, Baltimore, or even Mayberry, no matter, or even 5 blocks on the west side, you have a right to stand up and say, look, no more police here. We govern this. So take that jewel from this Ukrainian situation. The President Biden, as we just said said earlier, last year, signed a commitment to the Atlantic Charter, where the United States says they wish to see self-government restored to those who have been deprived of it. That's us. That's us. So a jewel is in that situation for us to get justice, and that's to simply follow what Ukraine did to get that independence. Follow what they did. That's it, Comrade Major. We don't have that much time, but that's just the information I wanted to share with the people, because a lot of commentary is going on about this situation. You got even groups wanting to go over to Ukraine and help the Africans in Ukraine. Everything's being discussed besides the fact that Ukraine is in a better situation than we are in. We should be mimicking that. We got rappers trying to raise money for Ukraine. They already done raised hundreds of millions, tens of billions, going into the hundreds of millions in cryptocurrency for Ukraine. We can't even raise a few $100,000 for what we're doing in Detroit, and we're trying to take over the city and give us independence. Give us some hundreds of millions of dollars in cryptocurrency. If you're concerned about a population, we are foolish people, as the scripture says. That's because we don't know, but we're here to help you know. MajorTv is here to help you know. We're in this discussion that help our people know, because if we know better, then of course we would do better. So let's do better, people. Let's do better, family. Let's know that we have a right of self-determination. Look up self-determination, not the Kwanzaa definition. We're talking about the legal definition according to international human rights law. The same thing that the founding fathers of America used. The same thing that all nations of the world, peoples used in their revolutions. The same thing that Africans, Asians, Europeans, South Americans, and everybody else used. That's our answer, everyone. That's our answer. That's the jewel that we can take from the Ukrainian situation. Self-determination. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, brother, for coming through. It was powerful. I have a question for you, but I know you have in the issues and what have you. But I just noticed that this conversation, self-determination, is becoming a common thing now that my platform had finally met you and you came out with talking about, even though I know Elena had been also pushing it, but from Elena to you and others I heard, I'm hearing it more now. But my question is, why we so slow in catching on to this? Like, I mean, I'm quite sure you, Elena, y'all not your names are not foreign to some people. People know who you are. Why is it being pushed?
As it just explained or gave an example from a scholar out of Princeton University who wrote a publication entitled "We the Peoples: The Strange Demise of Self-Determination." The government will make sure they crush any dissent and make sure they don't have any dissent. So they will use our scholars, use the leaders of oppressed people to give the people other solutions. So now we will be stuck on solutions that don't work. We'll be stuck thinking integration works. We'll be stuck thinking inclusion in their political system works. And our leaders who know about self-determination as well, they will only push to us Black economic empowerment, Black president, a Black vice president, a Black mayor inside of a white political system where we are a minority. So by design, they made sure that they don't popularize this type of stuff. It's called controlled opposition. Everyone look up that word, controlled opposition. People who claim that they are opposed to the government actually will never do anything to threaten the existence of that government, which self-determination does. It threatens the existence of the government. So the government is going to make sure leadership, and they're going to promote leadership that's about reform and not about revolution. That's about just trying to force the government to do better instead of simply asserting their right of self-determination. They spent trillions of dollars to keep us from discussing that. So they're not going to popularize what Ramzu is doing in Detroit and the Human Rights Policy Officer, Sister Elena, is promoting. They're not going to popularize those things. They're going to popularize movements that act like they are in opposition to the government. And they might not like the government, but they're going to have solutions that's not guaranteed to get any justice for our people, that's going to keep us on a treadmill. That's called controlled opposition. So it's up to you. That's why you are here. Because mainstream media is not going to promote us. They're going to promote controlled opposition. So you got to, and our independent Black media who really care and who are not afraid, they must promote self-determination. Let me give y'all a quote. Self-determination was popularized by Woodrow Wilson. The term was popular. It was before him, but it was popularized by Woodrow Wilson starting around 1918. He said, people may now be dominated and governed by their consent only. And he said self-determination is more than a mere phrase, but it is a imperative principle of action. I mean, you don't just go around saying Black power, all power to the people. It's not a mere phrase. It's an imperative principle of action. Of course, he wasn't saying that for Black people. He was saying that for white groups in Europe, to not just chant slogans and march, but to actually take control over where they live. But after he spoke about self-determination, Woodrow Wilson, Secretary of State, the man he chose to be his Secretary of State, said, hold up, wait a minute, Mr. President. That phrase is simply loaded with dynamite. He cried out that it will bring misery and calamity to the United States. Why? Because the United States has a population. They benefit from the fact that people are not asserting their right of self-determination. Because if Black people in America simply stood up and asserted their right of self-determination, we become the superpower. Who controls who's the major population in the major cities? Especially those with ports. Black people are. 1,200 areas and cities in America, we are the majority in. What if we asserted our right of self-determination? Then we take control. So it will bring calamity, misery to the American government. As the Secretary of State said, it is loaded with dynamite. So they make sure they're not going to blow up. So they suppressed any discussions on self-determination. Myself was detained by the FBI on numerous occasions. And on one occasion, they sit down and had a long talk with me and said, hold on, now, just stop. If you don't want to go through all this, just stop talking about self-determination. Just deal with Black economic empowerment. I said, this is Black economic empowerment, our own Black political system. So if they stop little bitty me, I can imagine the conversations they had with leadership, with popular leadership. So that's why we're not popular. It's an orchestrated occurrence. It's an orchestrated situation. It's an orchestrated mindset that we're in, that we are seeking other solutions. We even admit that we're voting for lessers of evils. What kind of silliness is that? That's wickedness on our part, voting for a lesser of evils because we don't know that we have this right, simply.
So where can be fair to say that self-determination in America for Black people is an uphill battle, considering all the vices and things that's working against us. Not saying it's not achievable. It's going to be definitely an uphill battle.
I mean, first, the uphill battle is getting us just to simply stand up for it. Integration was an uphill battle, but they achieved integration because too many people stood up. They couldn't stop all of those people. All revolutions is an uphill battle. Why? Because you're being suppressed. You're being oppressed. That means you're on the bottom. So everything you fight is facing against something that's on top of you. So it's always uphill. But the first part of the battle was to get over our fear of even trying. There was many people afraid to even try to integrate with Dr. King, to try to fight for voting rights with Dr. King. But enough became mobilized to fight for it and stand up for it, and then they achieved it. So the first uphill battle is against our own unwillingness to even try. But until we try, the government will always have an excuse against us. And look, we wrote in the law. The first thing we wrote in the law is that you have a right to govern yourselves. You just didn't stand up for it. You might use the excuse that you're scared. But we didn't stop you from trying. You just didn't try. So it's not our fault. It's you Negroes' fault. Y'all never stood up for your right. We wrote it and said you had the right to stand up and govern where you are. You just never tried. And when crazy people you consider crazy like Ramzu, Elena, Major, or whoever stood up and said self-determination, you say, oh, we can't do that. They ain't going to let us do that. Because of demoralization, that's also a tactic of war by then. We're demoralized people. But yes, it's an uphill battle. But let's first get over the battle against our unwillingness to even try.
All right, we know we got a serious mental block, a serious issue with Black people believing that anything is possible. Because we look at us around the country, we just don't think progressive. As a whole, you have a lot of individual people that have success, but as a whole, it's like a lot of people have already stepped that inferior mindset and not really seeing the big picture. For me, ask you this question: how successful we can as far as trying to tear down the mental barriers? Because a lot of them, I believe, mean well, but they just don't know. They're scared and they don't see the real outcome. If we really was to push for self-determination, we're willing to die. I feel like that's gonna be an issue overall as far as communicating with our people and getting to see the big picture. How can we do that in a way where it'll be successful?
I mean, it's very difficult to get over fear, especially when it was implanted in your DNA. And that's been proven. We had fear implanted in our DNA. So there's a natural fear of the oppressor because of what they put inside of us. But sometimes it's almost impossible to reverse that situation. But I don't know, I'm sure you have. I know you've read The Art of War. Sun Tzu said sometimes to get the people to fight, you just got to have their back against the wall and they just dying. They ain't got no other recourse but to fight like hell to get themselves out of that situation. So now the enemy is forcing us. Our teachers can't put the bravery in us. I can't put the bravery in everyone. Seems like even religion can't even put the courage in people. But the enemy himself can put the courage in people, because when you are backed up against a wall, you have nothing else to do, no other recourse but to fight. Right now, we're backed up against a wall. We're dying on a daily basis. We have nothing. Say that again.
The wall, we up back against the wall. We really. Remember, I was talking on the phone. I was telling you, we gave up so much territory to invaders and the enemy. Mm-hmm. We surrounded out back against the wall.
Yeah. So that's all we can do is fight now. What we're gonna just let them kill us? Just lay down on our knees? We have to fight back. They're forcing needles in people's arms right now. Besides whatever else they're doing, they're in a major war. We need to be independent, just to declare ourselves, create for ourselves a safe zone from that. If you're scared of that as well, so that's why everything that's happening is for our benefit. Whenever they let somebody off the hook for murdering one of us, like they did Breonna Taylor recently or whatever, those been done. So when I hate to say it, you might hate me for it, people may hate me for it, but I'm glad when they don't charge these people for murdering our people. They let us know there's no justice in this system. We're up against the wall. There's nothing else we can do besides what the people of Ukraine did in 1991. There's nothing left for us to do besides what the founding fathers did on July the 4th, 1776. There's nothing left for us to do besides what hundreds of other peoples around the world did to gain their independence and guarantee themselves justice. We're up against the wall. Nothing else is working. Voting is not working. Boycotting is not working. Protesting is not working. So what else are we going to do, everyone? What else? Nothing left to do besides assert our right of self-determination and simply stand up. We're up against the wall, so we got to fight in this manner.
And I always say this stuff have to happen, right, to open our eyes. Because a lot of times, there's warning for destruction, right? And I see how the walls is caving in on us. And the funny thing about it, they're so relentless. They're so disrespectful. They're so aggressive. They know in their mind, I got them. And what tripped me out is the fact that we're still doing a whole lot of talking, mimicking, and making fun of who doing what and who not doing what. I'm talking about people in the community that's supposed to be elected, they're trying to lead us. They have a way, everything is best. And we're not solving anything. And it's getting to the point where the more you say self-determination, the more we look at people that's out there running their mouth and not really understand that we have to really do something. We got to do something fast because the wall's caving in. And it's not just this country we're dealing with. We're dealing with people in this country and people that's not of us that's coming out of the community and also dominating. I mean, in a powerful way, and I don't see why people don't see what's going on. And we're gonna be forced to do something eventually. I hope it's not too late. We're gonna be forced to react, but right now people reacting to it too slow. There's too much infighting, and people can't even see when you say self-determination, what you really mean and what we really have to do. And I think that's a bad disconnect, moving forward, because we still talking yip-yap as opposed to really sitting down and taking over these cities that we know that we're the majority in.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I know why. It's different factors, but there's nothing to it but to do it. The Ukrainian people, one of the other things they did that we didn't mention was they nationalized the economy. They nationalized the economy. Nationalized the economy means this: if we were in Detroit, for instance, we took over Detroit, the economy becomes nationalized. And all economic activity that goes on in there, not no foreigners, anybody else coming in, dominating and having all the stores, it's nationalized. We now control all the stores and the commerce in our city. So now, for instance, in Detroit, we spend $90+ million a week on food alone. None of that food is made in Detroit by black people, distributed by black people. But what if we did distribute and create that food? That's $90+ million coming a week back to us. So that's what the Ukrainian people did as well in 1991. They took over all the assets of the government because they declared independent. We can do the same thing. Now we give ourselves monetary reparations. They nationalized the economy, meaning all economic activity was controlled by them for their benefit. And they freed prisoners, amongst other things. They freed all their wrongfully convicted people. We could do the same thing instead of crying about it. It's simply, if you represent the will of the people, and I'm sure if you ask your neighbors, do they agree with having free housing, for instance? Like in Detroit, we got hundreds of thousands of empty properties. If you ask the people, which we have, we said, do y'all want all these houses for yourself? Tens of thousands of people responded immediately. So now we represent the popular will. Do you want to end in a police brutality? Of course, the majority would say yeah. Do you want monetary reparations? Of course, the majority says yeah. Would say yeah. So now, if all power to the people, that's all the people saying yeah. So now what's to stop you from doing it besides yourself? So, okay, since the people agree to this, we have our own government right now to implement these policies. Do y'all agree with us? Yes, you do. Now just start implementing it. In Detroit, we created our own free housing authority. And we gave away thousands of houses already. And we taking houses because we are in authority by the will of the people. Doesn't it say all power to the people? Now you just have to assert that. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of capacity as far as soldiers, so to speak, our own police officers, so to speak. That's why we encourage and invite so-called revolutionaries that they say they have a lot of arms and are in a lot of formations to come and be the police force, be the military to us, help us and protect us while we assert our right of self-determination. Any other thing to do with those guns or standing up, showing that you're tough is irrelevant unless it's used in an act of self-determination, like the people of Ukraine did.
I totally agree with you. I want to go a little deep though. There's so much history of oppressed people from Cuba, from in Africa or what have you, that have stood up against oppression and the people being oppressed. That was the only solution. Why haven't we we talk about them. We talk about all kinds of historic that happened over here and what happened over there. Why haven't we embraced that same attitude?
One thing, Hitler made a statement. I might miss a couple of the words, but I'm going to give you basically the meaning of what he said. He said, demoralize your enemy through sabotage, assassination, etc. He said, that is the war of the future. So they've demoralized us through what? They assassinated our leaders. They sabotaged our organizations. So now those who come after, nobody wants to be a Dr. King and get assassinated. The leaders they don't want to just die for this thing. Nobody wants to be arrested like Nelson Mandela and do 27 years and like our political prisoners in America for this thing. They're demoralized. The organizations have been sabotaged. Leaders have been assassinated. So now, as Hitler said, that's the war of the future. You ain't got to worry about them standing up because they are too demoralized. So now we got leadership that has the ability to mobilize people. But those leaders don't want to be a Dr. King. They don't want to bear that cross. They don't want to get hung on that cross. Those leaders don't want to bear the cross of our political prisoners and spend their lives in prison. They're not willing to do that. And if you're a biblical person, the children of Israel had God walking with them, talking to them, splitting the sea for them, according to the Bible. Yet when God said, stand up for yourself and take position and govern yourself, they saw giants and were afraid. Only 2 people out of all those thousands of people were willing to stand up. And I like to quote Elijah Muhammad. He said that scripture, if it didn't happen then, it was written, and we're walking into that scripture ourselves. So right now, the Most High is saying, through the law, right in our faces, saying, look, go ahead and just take possession. That's what the law says. Even your enemy's law says, just take possessions. Take possession of the territory and govern yourself and give yourselves justice. But what are we seeing? Giants besides 2 people. Well, it's more than 2, but I'm just an example. But just a few is seeing or have the morale, have the courage to stand up and say, look, we're going to take possession. But many people know what we're talking about. Many people know. Many of these leaders know exactly. They knew before I knew. But the thing is, they don't want to face those giants. They see giants that are not even there. How can 600 people or so in Washington, D.C. be a giant over 50 million black people? Or if you're in your city, how can 3,000 or 2,000 police and about 12 or 15 officials be a giant in Detroit over 700,000 black people? That means we're the giant because we're the people. That's why all power is to the people.
What I don't understand is why, with all what you just said, why now they haven't been people crossing aisles and really creating a self-government and learn from people like the Irish and different things that was going on with Britain, how they had their little own thing going on with the little wars and whatever, Europe. Why we haven't got to the point where, you already asked the question, but
we're at the point. We're at the point. It's what we're doing now in Detroit. It starts somewhere.
Right.
It starts somewhere. The fruit bears at its own time. So everything happens in due season. Why did it take the people of the United States, or even the founding fathers, to wait so long to declare independence? Why did it take the people of Ukraine so long? Why did it take all the hundreds of other peoples and nations around the world to finally stand up? But everything came in due season. Our season is now. Our season. They said we're going to be oppressed for 400 years. That was up 2 years ago. So now our season, but it's all on our decision. So we're doing it. We're asserting our right of self-determination. Y'all gonna see a lot of smoke in Detroit. If you haven't been paying attention in Detroit, you're seeing a lot of smoke now if you've been paying attention to what's going on in Detroit. But it begins somewhere with some people, even if it's a small group of people. Fidel Castro, our biggest revolutionary in this hemisphere, along with Che Guevara, it was only 14 of them. 14 of them going against the Batista dictatorship. 14. But they knew that they represented the will of the people, so eventually they succeeded as more people were mobilized and became courageous based on the courage of those few. So it just takes a few of us, and I think we got enough to make this happen. We got enough to make this happen, but many people are suppressed by leadership that's controlled opposition. So we're telling everybody, if your leader's not standing for self-determination to guarantee justice, fire your leader. Get your pink slip today and send it to your leader and say you're fired. We're not following you anymore. We're not wasting our time at your meetings, marches, conventions. We're not giving no more charity and donations to you. Give them the pink slip. And now let's stand up for something that's real, that's going to guarantee us justice. We ain't got no more time to be pussyfooting around with this thing and playing with the lives of our people. Look at Ukraine. Let's follow suit, everyone.
Right. But man, look, I'm glad you came on. I know you're having problems in there and whatnot. I don't want to keep you on too long. You want to hang out for the comments or whatever, you can do that. If you have any last words, you can share that too, my brother.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Unfortunately, the internet resources over here. I'm in Central African Republic, considered the poorest nation in the world, or by some maybe second to the last in the world, but it's the richest country in the world. Just like we are the richest people in resource for our own biological structure, our own mental structure and spiritual structure, but yet we are in last place in the world. But the last shall be first. The last shall be first. So I appreciate you all for listening. And this is how we can make the last become first, by simply standing up. That's what the American government is afraid. That's the unity that they're afraid of. They're not afraid of us uniting and everybody calling themselves Hebrews. They're not afraid of us uniting and everybody calling themselves Muslims. They're not afraid of us uniting and everybody calling themselves Moors, indigenous, etc. They're afraid if you unite and asserting your political will. That's the only thing that's destructive and threatening to this government. And that's the only thing that can save us. And that's asserting our right of self-determination. Take that jewel from the Ukrainian situation and let's go ahead and do it. You can find out a lot of information about self-determination on the internet. The law of self-determination, not no mental health self-determination, not no Kwanzaa self-determination, but the human right, international human right of self-determination. Please read and study that. We also welcome you to somebody can put that in the chat section. One of our members that's following the human rights policy officers. We have conference calls 3 days a week about self-determination and how we are asserting it in Detroit and how we can organize ourselves to utilize our real power that we have. Salute to all the human rights policy officers that have been standing up, asserting that right with us in Detroit. We're making this thing happen. So thank you all for listening. I pray I didn't offend anybody, but if I did offend anybody, I don't care. I don't care, because we can't be diplomatic with this thing. We got to just bear the truth and let the chips fall where they may. Either you do it or you don't. We drawing a line in the sand. But I still love you regardless. Let's make this thing happen. Thanks to MajorTv for having me on this platform, being able to get the word out. Major's a great brother, a sincere brother. So please support his platform, give him more followers, spread the word, share his videos, subscribe, etc., because he's getting the word out for our people. This is independent Black media. So thank you, Major, for having me on. Thanks to everyone for listening. I'll try to stick around for the comment section. Love you all. Salute.
For sure. I'm past through comments, but I'll go to the ones that people really saying something right. I'm just gonna flash through a couple of them. Let me know I acknowledging all y'all out there. Thank you so much. Like and share this live, even if in this live they can catch the replay. I want to thank Brother Ramzu. He's so like involved. He's so real about it. I mean, I won't lie. In my lifetime, I've met some real raw brothers, but this brother is so genuine, so like, I mean, he loved us so much he wouldn't sacrifice his own life, and I don't understand why we as a people We talk that talk. We don't walk that walk. This brother invited all of us to become a part of this movement, self-determination for our own people good, for the future, our kids and future generation. And I don't think we realize the essence of what's going on in totality. And when I say we, I know the people that's in here right now, y'all showing, y'all showing the concern, y'all showing the interest, but there's so many people that hearing this brother that's not, you know. And shout out to Sister Elena Porter because she's out here doing her thing too. And I just wanted to say this. We always talk about what we need, what we have to do, but this brother here is giving us a blueprint. This brother is showing what's going on in Detroit. And I can't help but to just acknowledge everything, you know what I'm saying, that him and I have really engaged on. And I gotta admit personally, things I learned about you, brother, I'm impressed. I won't even lie, I'm totally impressed from how you started, from now, your home beginning to now, where you at. It's a blessing, man. So let me start reading the comments. They're coming through. And I'm just gonna bounce through them right quick. I see Lena Porter, NATO, Ukraine violating Russia's sovereignty. Purity, Franklin, Shalom. To the brother Midge, Conrad, Ramzu, Conrads, and family.
Shalom, shalom.
Eagle B, your political status cannot be black, though. Want to comment on that?
Okay, what did they say?
Eagle B said your political status cannot be black, though.
Your political status cannot be, let me see, be black, though. All right, according to international law, our political status is actually called Afro-descendants. Afro-descendants. Right. According, even if you don't call yourself an Afro-descendant, according to international law, as of around 2000, 2001, our political status became Afro-descendants, which means we do have a international status that can receive or can engage in revolution that can assert their right of self-determination. So I know a lot of people are coming from a context of law as it was when their organization was founded. I think that person was a Bay. The organization that he filed, I think was started around 1930 or something like that. There was no international agreements. There was no international covenants back then that called us a people and gave us a right, or not gave us a right, but acknowledged our right of self-determination. I've been to many nations, probably the nation I'm in, but I lived in Zimbabwe themselves, myself, and they themselves, they use the word black in Zimbabwe as a free and independent people. They had a standing to do that because they were being violated against their sovereign rights and their right to self-government. So saying black has no status, regardless, even if you call yourself black, your status is already given in international law, and that's called either you're an indigenous or you're an Afro-descendant, and you have rights. Whatever name you want to use, you still can call yourself black, but your status in international law is an Afro-descendant, and you have a right to self-determination.
And I really believe
I encourage many people to really study law. Let's not get involved in the organizational rhetoric or ideology, and really study international law and see where we stand.
I want to say something briefly about that. I think that's a big issue in our community. We play them somatic games and play word games about. I've been trying to understand everything that's been named by white people. We divided. They gave us Africans, Indians. I mean, you name it, Jamaicans. All these names was named by Europeans. So I don't understand how people be like so like this whole apparatus, social apparatus got us so confused, not knowing what's what. And then I feel like a lot of times we get caught up into we gotta say this, we gotta say that, and what have you. And I just feel like that's not as important as opposed to getting self-determination. That's not as important as
a lot of the motivation behind such things is people want people to join their group. So they're going to make statements that's favorable to their group, to their organization. Like, you got to call yourself this. You got to call yourself that. Why? Because I call myself that. Well, in law, regardless of what you call yourself, you are a human being and you have human rights. And black people, we have been called internationally. Our official designation is Afro descendants, and we do have rights. We are in the international arena. We are on an international level, and what we do trumps, bypasses, supersedes local laws. But those local laws themselves, as the supremacy clause dictates, those local laws themselves must submit to international law. International law gives us the right to stand up and simply take over. So those who do follow whatever indigenous, Moorish, science, or whatever, just simply assert what you believe in. Assert what you have a right to. Rights ought to be asserted. Rights ought to be. So what we're promoting is not for people to carry a nationality card and wait to get stopped by the police. What we are asserting is for people to get rid of the police, period, and be the police. Control the territory that you say you have jurisdiction over. Be the police. We don't want to see no, if you are a Moor, whatever you say you are, you got jurisdiction. I don't want to see no other police force on your territory unless they got a Moorish flag on that car, unless they got an indigenous flag on that car. So we have to just simply assert it. I love what the Moors, what they stand for in their teachings. I love the indigenous citizens, their stance, but it's something we have to eventually assert instead of say we have the rights. Assert and stand up in massive numbers and do that. Boldly do it.
And that means some people gonna die. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be blood. Gonna be bloodshed.
If it has to be blood, let there be blood.
And I'm only saying that because I know that was an extra added, but I just want to let people know that's how serious it is.
It's very serious. It's very serious.
Land said the government use control opposition side track our right self-determination, stuff you spoke about too, brother.
Yeah, we talked about control opposition. They sidetracking us, got us doing everything else besides have the ability to amass millions of people. Those millions of people could got us free long ago. But we're not going to harp on what they're not doing. They didn't live that out their course and their usefulness to our people. So now it's up to us to do it.
Brother Devin West said Ramzu agree. Don't hurt them, they ain't ready yet.
Salute, Comrade Devin. Devin is on the forefront, on the front lines of this struggle with us in Detroit, standing up. They ready. They ready. Just don't know they're ready, Devin, but they ready. If you ain't ready, you better get ready. We better get ready, people, because the enemy is ready. Enemy is not just ready, he's in action.
Freedom and justice now. Stand up, Black America.
Stand up, Black America. Just stand up. Stand up. That's all that's required. Just to stand up. Nothing else. There's no extensive learnings, intensive learnings you got to go through. Just simply stand up. You see the Ukrainian Declaration of Independence, 2 sentences long. 2 sentences. They say we have a right of self-determination. We're declaring it from here on out. We're under nobody else's jurisdiction. That's basically what they said. That wasn't extensive. They didn't quote 50,000 codes from the commercial code, from this and that. They said we have a right of self-determination based on international law. That's the same thing we're saying. Sister Lena said we are dying anyway. We're dying anyway. Come on, what would you afraid to just stand up and 2 of us die to get our freedom when 2 of us die every split second because of this system? So you're dying anyway.
Brother man said the safest place under OHAD system of corruption is fight against OHAD system of corruption.
That's the safest place. It's resistance against that. It's the safest place.
Can we establish bought land here in the States for a temporary headquarters? How and when do we start mass gathering?
Yeah, well, we've been mass gathering. They've been suppressing our gatherings, and we weren't gathering just to gather. We was gathering to assert the will of the people and to show that this is the popular will of the people in Detroit. If you go to my YouTube, you see those gatherings with thousands and thousands and thousands of people were showing up, and the police had to blockade it twice. They blockaded downtown to keep the people from gathering. So I said, how do we start mass gathering? We just simply rally the people like we rally them for everything else. And look, y'all want to be self-governing? Do y'all want reparations? Do y'all want free housing to control the housing situation and territory and assets of this city? Then come on, let's stand up on this day. We're taking control right now. We don't need a temporary headquarters. Some people advocate buying some land, etc. We already bought land. We already occupied territory. Wherever I live, I know I live in Detroit. That's all us there. And probably wherever most of us live, we already gathered there and we are the majority. Most of us don't live near white folks. And when we try to move near white folks, they move away and make it a black majority anyway. So just simply stand up where you are. Stand up where you are.
Speak, brother. Speak. You're on fire tonight, man. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. You all right, brother. You're on fire tonight. Should tell Miles, Shantae Miles, without struggle, there's no progress. I'd rather die standing for my rights than die on my knees like a coward, not me.
Salute, Shantae Miles, otherwise also known as Queen X. The police assassinated both her sons.
Yeah.
So she's on the front line with us as well in Detroit. She has, besides just being a black person wanting justice for her people, she has every motivation, top motivation, because the police assassinated her sons.
Both of them.
And why? How can we allow that to keep happening? You need to probably have her on your show as well to explain that situation. It happened in Ohio.
Yeah, sister Shantae Miles, you definitely welcome to come on the show. You can email MajorTvLetsTalk at gmail.com. Is in the description of this video. Real talk. Sorry that took condolences. My brother, Danny Goodrich said the search of our right self-determination, and it all ends overnight.
Overnight, assert your right. Salute to Comrade Dan, A1 from day one. He's been there since we started in Detroit, standing on the front lines for our people's right of self-determination and declaring independence in Detroit. Like I said, just simply assert your right of self-determination, and it's overnight. What the founding fathers did, that was overnight in a split second. What Ukraine did in 1991, that was overnight. What Kosovo did in 2008, these are short years ago, that was overnight. Heck, what the people in Seattle did was overnight. They just stood up and took over the city of Seattle, asserted their right to do so. So why are we not doing that?
Right. Y'all have any questions for Brother Ramzu too? Loving y'all comments. I don't know if I'll be able to go through all of them. Thank you, Major, for all of your help with the self-determination and national liberation movement. Give praise to
Leave that there. Salute to Comrade Elena for alerting and drafting paperwork and alerting the world and international bodies on our struggle here in America. Like she said, national liberation movement. Let's focus on that for 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes. National liberation movement. Whenever you stand up and assert your right of self-determination or declare your independence, any opposition to that puts you in a liberation struggle against those who trying to deny that right. And that gives you certain rights. And anybody that's arrested after that, you are a political prisoner. You are a prisoner of war. You're not a prisoner, legal prisoner inside their system. But you have to be asserting your right of self-determination to be at that liberation status. A lot of people say they are liberate for the liberation of our people. If they're not asserting the right of self-determination, if they're just marching for justice, if they just shouting for justice, even if they marching with guns and a whole bunch of men or declaring the white man's the devil in massive numbers, unless you are asserting that self-determination, declaring the independence, you're not in a national liberation movement, and you don't have the international standing and status to be engaged in certain acts. When you declare self-determination, we can actually really go to war with those guns now against any opposition of our self-determination. So that's very important, that national liberation, because a lot of us think we are in a liberation movement, but liberation movements don't march and try to seek justice inside of somebody else's system. Liberation movements do not do that.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Miss Elena, for the comment. I give all praise to create. I'm just doing my job, just trying to make sure the people get the information, get the knowledge, understand what it's all about, self-determination. But I have to ask you something, brother, that you were just talking about. But even in human rights law, right? Even in the Constitution, we have a right to stand up for ourselves.
Yeah, there's a right of revolution inside the Constitution. In many state constitutions, there's a right of revolution. New Hampshire, even places where we've been protesting at. Ferguson, look at Missouri state constitution. Says all political powers inherent in the people, and they have the right at all times to alter or abolish government whenever they deem it necessary for their safety and happiness. White folks are revolutionaries. They real revolutionaries.
Yeah,
They made sure they put it in their laws that if governments get out of hand, we're getting rid of you. Even Thomas Jefferson himself said, revolution every now and then is a prescription. I recommend it to keep the government in order. We just never engage in real revolution. We never try to alter or abolish government. Even in Detroit's city charter, this is the smallest constitution you can get as a city charter. Number one thing it says is Detroit city government is a service institution that recognizes its subordination to the people of Detroit, meaning they are under orders of the people. But the people never get together and give orders. We get together and say, hands up, don't shoot. We get together and get on our knees and ask our public servants. They are servants. So we have a right at all times to just alter and abolish. Revolution is the American way. Protesting and grievance and petition, that's not the American way. Revolution is the American way. So let's engage in the American way since we are in America, everyone.
I have another question for you. Cajun Bullet Compound TV. We should have 40,000 more on this channel. We have 40. I hate to say it though. I don't even really want to comment on that. But I'm gonna just say this: those who know what is real and what they want to hear, real channel, they're gonna listen. They're gonna stay and what have you. A lot of people are engaged in a lot of stuff. It should be engaged in for listen to. A lot of these platforms they cater to just what's popular, you know. And Brother Ramzu laying out so much information. It's like I'm like overload with things he's saying. And I have question for him, but I don't know why. You know, I ain't been around for a year and a half, so I don't know if it's getting around to the people as far as with YouTube or just the people itself. And what have you. But I know one thing: we very divided in how we disseminate information. So I'm glad I have somebody watching. Somebody is.
Yeah, that 40 is 40,000. That 40 is 40,000. That 40 can move 40 million. Malcolm X was one person that heard the message of the Nation of Islam, and look how many people he ended up getting himself. He was one of the few that was listening. So 40 could be 40,000. 40 could be 40 million, and we're not popular. Fidel Castro had 14 people. Many revolutions. Jesus had 12, so to speak. Many of the children of Israel only had 2 people that were willing to face the giants. So 40 is a great number compared to the numbers that they had, and they changed the world. And so we can change the world with this 40, and of course it will increase as the 40 engage in concrete action.
Okay, we're gonna keep it coming. We're not gonna lack at all. I forgot the question I want to ask you. I'm gonna come back to it, but I won't lie, man. I'm enjoying this live. This is one of the few lives I'm really, really enjoying. I'm learning. I'm listening to a lot of things, and I love the fact that the way you convey yourself and where we at. Because I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm about to get to my question. It really shows the difference in reference to where people at, in reference to the movement, how people saying they're revolutionary when they're not, how people saying they're about it when they showing they don't know what they're doing. You know, you've seen a lot of missteps, and we wonder why a lot of movements soon they start they end, because they don't have a real long-term plan. You know what I'm saying? It be like they're thinking like they want to go out and do this, but it's not organized. You don't really see, you know, A, B, C, D plan. It's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, and for me, I'm listening to you. I'm like, I hear what you're saying, and I'm saying it. You say, hey, so termination the way. And you're talking about the free housing. You're talking about the economy part. You're talking about taking this and doing this. And I don't know why. I don't know why, for word, I mean, people just not understanding what's really going on, or they're not really even trying to embrace it. And for me, it bothers me. It bothers me so much. I feel like we're spinning our wheels all the time. And the only thing is just confusing the people and scaring the people to not even participate in conversations like this, because they're watching all the other people and they started filing, donating, and helping, because they found out they want to be in the bus. They want to really not be in the sincere they came off originally. And it's just sad to hear what you're saying and how so much you're saying is so true. When you're talking about Fidel Castro, what he did in Cuba, I'm just taken back, man. I won't lie. because of that, do not monitor more what goes come across my platform. All right, come across my platform because I'm seeing a lot of stuff on other platforms of what's going on in the community, and it's just sickening, man. It's sad that people not gravitate to the fact that we got to come together, exercise self-determination. Our people are dying. Our people are being locked up. Our people are suffering below poverty level. It's just so many things going on. Our people are constantly being misled, constantly being lied to, constantly being taken advantage of. We got these puppet Negroes and people that want to be leading the people don't know what the hell they doing. So I ain't gonna go on my little thing, but I just feel like listen to you, man. It just eases my spirit. I can see myself dying for something like this. A lot of that stuff out here in the streets, man, I can't see myself entertain it because it's not coming from a sincere place. It's somebody that want to show they know something, get a crowd behind, and let the ego just blow out of control. They become a narcissist, egotistical, and make it all about them while people actually are going through something or really suffering in a severe way. So shout out to Ruth Golden, self-determination is the answer. Thank you so much, Ruth, for coming through. I just had a moment on my people. You there, my brother, still up?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just had a moment, man.
Now go ahead, express
Yeah, I just had a
yourself.
moment, man. I mean, listen to you, bro, and it's like my heart hurt because we need these real tough conversations. We need to really just go there, bro. And we don't
I mean,
go
most people they don't have a solution and a plan. They just out there doing it. I spoken to some powerful people, even in the past, some great leaders, and I just asked them, "What's the plan?" They simply told me they don't have a plan, but just to get out there and just talk and rally the people with no plan whatsoever. And that's the majority of our organizations. Ask the leader, say, "What is your plan? What's your steps for us to get free?" Otherwise, you're going to be in a movement for hundreds of years, just talking, rallying, having great events, socialization. Basically, it's all it is. Socializing, having events. What is the plan? If you don't have a plan to get me free, don't talk to me. I ain't got time for you. If we're not going somewhere, you're not going to have me on a treadmill. Put me on a real road to freedom. And that's what we are. We're on a treadmill, a hamster wheel, going absolutely nowhere, but we're sounding good on that treadmill. We're listening to good things on that hamster wheel, but it's absolutely leading us nowhere. So what's the plan? Ask your leaders, what's the plan? If they don't have a plan for you, fire them. If you're trying to lose weight and the person supposed to be training, you ain't got a diet and workout plan for you, fire them. Because you ain't going to lose no weight because they ain't got no plan for you. So if you're on the road to freedom and want liberation and your leader has no concrete plan spelled out, fire them. Besides just saying, look at this picture, this person that's in shape. Look at this picture. No, I'm looking at no picture nobody's in shape. Tell us how I'm going to get in shape. Don't tell me a picture of freedom. Don't talk about freedom. Tell me how I'm going to get free. What's your plan to get me free? Ask your leaders, can they do that beyond just the rallies, the popularization of themselves? Beyond that, it's not there. Fire them.
And I won't lie. I can seriously say, since I got in the thick of the movement, that is so true. I find a lot of brothers and sisters I've met that's out here to me, they don't really have a real end game. They have good intentions. Good intentions don't get you nowhere. They have a real end game, and then they want to do things, and they make these big giant steps and these big giant commitments that they can't fulfill. And at the same time, when they run across obstacles, a lot of them I see got a lot of bulk and no bite. And that's sad when you can talk that rah. Like I never forget. I always said, I like boxing, right? And one guy we told all that rah. Another guy we listening. We asked him a question. He said, yeah, all that sounds good till you get hit. You hear everything change, and I watched this firsthand. Blah 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? And soon the pressure come down, pressure busts a water pipe. And you see it. Like, like this life or death, this ain't no bullshit. You think they playing? They gonna lock your ass up and kill you. When you talk that rah, you better be ready to go all the way. That's one thing I learned in life. When you commit yourself to something, you gotta be 100%, you gotta be 100% dialed in. And you gotta be ready to die. And a lot of us not ready to die that's in this movement. A lot of us, we playing for position. And once we get to a certain place, we settle. We cool. We said this, that, another, but that wasn't. That's not enough. That's not even. And a lot of trying to compare this to Malcolm X, man. That's come on, bro. Like it's a joke.
We want the popularity. We're searching for the popularity of Malcolm X. We're searching for the popularity of Dr. King. We're not willing to die like Malcolm X or die like Dr. King. We just want their popularity. Not a lot of people not willing to bear that cross.
And the more I hear you speak, bro, I see so much required from us as a people. Because once you realize what you've been following, what you've been reading, what you've been doing, and getting it, you know what I'm saying? It get to the point where self-determination gotta be the way. You try to change the system.
I want to interject right quick before I forget this point. You was talking about how people, afraid to die, etc. But it's not funny, but what's ironic is a lot of the leadership, they end up dying of silly things, Dr. Khalid Muhammad died of an aneurysm. My brother Hashim Nzinga, who was the second leader after Dr. Khalid Muhammad of the New Black Power Party, died of colon cancer. And these are deaths that's not worthy of a revolutionary. I always said not Dr. King, but Dr. Khalid Muhammad, he should have died on the battlefield with about 10,000 other dead folks that he killed around him. Not die of no brain vein in his brain, artery in his vein or whatever busting. Hashim should have died the same way if he was going to die on the battlefield for liberation. So if we don't take it to that point, we're going to end up dying of something that makes absolutely no sense. Some of our leaders right now, you may die of a heart attack, a congestive heart failure, die in a car accident, die of something silly when you should just go ahead and push the button and die for what's real. Give me liberty or give me death. Not talk about liberty, but your death comes via cancer, via heart disease. So most of these people die anyway from things that's not related to the cause. So go ahead and give yourself to the cause and take that risk.
Yeah, man. Real talk. When our Paris states organized into a confederated nation state, we will be the 12th largest nation in the world. Atlanta.
They say with our economic strength, I don't know if she means economics or either the numbers. But some people say 12th or 14th based on the economics. But I like to say we'll be in first place. They base the economics on about $1.3, $1.4 trillion that we have, that we spend. But what about the assets we have where we live? That's over $15 trillion just in real estate assets that we have. What about the fact that $15 trillion will be debt free? And what about the resources, in-ground resources we have? Like Detroit itself would be 12th by itself in the world because it has the largest freshwater source in the world. That's trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars right there for just that population there. So we would be actually, I dare say, and I know based on facts, scientific facts and economics, we would be actually number one. Maybe not in population, but we'll definitely be number one. And we will be the superpower because we control and are the numbers population, the most numerous or majority in key areas of infrastructure of this nation. So we become the first and we become the superpower.
Yeah. I'm echoing. I must be on something. Okay.
I may have about 5 minutes left of megabytes.
Oh man, look. We won't be too long, man. My brother Bridge Club.
Yeah, bro, makes me want to look into going to Detroit. I like to come. Please come to Detroit, brother. Go to our website. It's detroitgov.us. We also have a hotline. Call that hotline and contact with one of the human rights policy officers and get linked in with us. That hotline number, if Major could please put it also on his thing, 888-99. Somebody can put it in the chat section, but Major can post it on the overall post. 888-999-6530. 888-999-6530. Brother Braves Club, please call that hotline and connect with us. Everybody should come to Detroit. That's the real formation in Detroit. That's the real Million Man March. in Detroit. That's your real rally and protest because of George Floyd and the police brutality in Detroit. And it's not a formation, it's not a protest, it's not a Million Man March. It is a lawful takeover, the assertion of our right of self-determination. It is Ukraine 2022.
Let me squeeze in and say this. Let me say this. I'm gonna just put it on that. First and foremost, let me speak with Brother Brez. He a solid, real brother. For me and him just communicating and what have you. I never met him personally. Got a good spirit. The brother been want to contribute. And I told the brother, hold up. He advised for me. I said, I don't want you to sing to anybody because I seen stuff I didn't like, right? I told Brez to hold up and I'll let you know who to deal with. And now I'm going to say right now, you Brez, that's the man right there, Brother Ramzu. And likewise, you, Brother Ramzu, that's a good brother, man. You know what I'm saying? Definitely
Nice
like
to
that.
meet you, Comrade Brave. Nice to meet you.
Good brother,
Let's
man.
work.
Brother.
Let's get to
Brother,
work. Everybody on this call, you invited. Please call that hotline and link with us. Let's do this year. Let's plant a flag down. Not march with a flag. I love that. I love that sight of marching with a red, black, and green flag. But when you march with a flag, that means you come to rule. You come to take actual jurisdiction over some territory. So this year, we're planting the flag down. We have a flag design. We're actually planting it in Detroit, and we're taking control. No holds barred, because this is a liberation movement that we're in. There's no holds barred into achieving that liberation when the enemy opposes it.
There go the number 888-999-6530. Real talk.
Please pay attention, everyone. I am in Central African Republic at the moment. At the presidential invite. We will be going public with some things in the coming weeks that's going on, and it's not just about Africa. It's about our link and our status and our struggle over in America and how we can enhance that. It's going to be taken up by a whole bunch of notches what we're doing in America.
I won't hold you up in the mood, brother. Thank you so much. Hey, anytime, you already know you got the number. You know you want to do another live, come on in. It was so powerful, man. So much we could take from this. But I'm not gonna hold you up in the mood, man. You take care, and we'll be talking real soon, brother.
All right, thanks, Comrade Major. Love you, love everybody on the line. Salute, peace and blessings to everyone. Let's get free.
Love you too. Salute. To everybody else, man, I want to thank everybody. Go to hotline, the people government. Hotline 888-999-6530. Call her, brother. They need our support. I will definitely be out. You already know I'm pulling up. You already know me pulling up. You already know I will pull up on you in a minute. I have no problem flying wherever I gotta go, pay my own way. I don't look for nobody to pay no way for me. I do my own thing. I love my people. I want to help my people. But shout out to everybody. I know I didn't get to everybody comments, but it's so important, you know what I'm saying? It's so important that we support each other, we help each other, and that's what it's all about. So with all that being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank everybody for love and support. And I don't know what this Eagle Bay, he's just been going at it about black and blah, blah, blah. So maybe use your heart, not use your head, not your heart. I thank you for the advice. I see y'all out there, everybody. I know I couldn't go through your comments. He was an African and whatnot. I didn't want to keep all his broadband, but obviously he did. But for everybody else, I didn't mention the comment. I love you. It's all good. I was just trying to bounce through it. It's kind of getting late for me. I'm in New Orleans. Canada film. My uncle had passed, so had to come out here and show some support the family and whatnot. I had a nice time. I had to get this information to you. The brother been wanting to come on the channel and talk about what we can learn from Ukraine. I'm just glad he came on. I think he did a great job. I think you all did too. Y'all was very respectful, good comments, questions, and whatnot. With that being said, thank y'all so much for everything. I'll be doing a live or getting at y'all real soon. I've been real busy. Y'all know the event coming up next Saturday. MajorTv live set featuring Real. I have a feature comedian and a live band, DJ Polo, live band the party. Then I got another comedian that will come on. He a new time comedian. I'm gonna give him a little play. I'm come on stage for a little bit, whatnot. But look, y'all, everything I do, I have a reason for doing it. And I want to show y'all when you put your mind to it and you want to do it, you just do it. This whole event is black. The whole event, up with black people, it's just love. You know what I'm saying? The event, black person on the event hall, the comedians black, the band black, the DJ black, everybody I made sure made money off me. And I asked for one donation. So just let you know how the Most High has blessed me. I give all praise to the Creator. And I told people, I'm in it to win it. I'm not in it for no clout or none of it. I said I'm in it to win it, and I'm in it to get the information out. I'm in it to help the people. I'm in it for building. I'm in it for self-determination. I'm in it because I love my people, and I want us to get out this rut, the struggle we in, real talk. But shout out to Brother Ramzu Yunus. We talk a lot. It's a very sincere brother. I'm glad Bread Club talking about going out that way to Detroit. This brother specializes in infrastructure and community building. I'm going to see infrastructure with construction and whatnot we need. And I told that brother, I'm going to send you to the right people. I'm going to send you to anywhere where you'll be bossed around. People want to appreciate what you have to offer. You got a lot of egotistical and narcissistic behavior going on. You have a lot of people that say they know the way, but not pushing for self-determination, not willing to go all the way, and I'm not with all that, I'm past all the talk, the accolades and all that stuff there. It's about getting the work done, so I want to thank everybody, real talk. I really, really appreciate that, you know what I'm saying? Million W. My condolences to you. All right, yeah, cool. It's all good, you know what I'm saying? My uncle suffered with, he was suffering kidney issues for a minute, so I just want to come out and meet the family. They live in the country where my dad is from, so I was able to get out with them and have fun. So, hey, I'm always working. I tell people, when y'all think I'm not working, I'm working, but thank you for condolences. But it's all good. It's life, you know what I'm saying? He walked the earth for a minute. But, yeah, I haven't did a live in a while, but trust me, I'm always thinking about y'all, what have you. And I just want everybody to know one thing, that everything that happened for a reason. We just have to make sense of it. There's a lot of things that have been going on, we've been saying, not just this war, period. We just have to make sense of it. But salute to Brother Ramzu, salute to you all. If I gotta go. I love y'all, for real talk. Y'all stay up out there. Y'all stay focused, stay on cold, just be black. Peace.
To the people, the power is the people. They power in your ego. We power in this evil. It's power in this music. Got power and I use it like I'm a superhero. We really need a leader. Power to the people. The power is the people. They power in your ego. We power in this evil. It's power in this music. Got power and I use it like I'm a superhero. We really need a leader. Wish we could see that we hurting ourselves. Hate the seeds that they sell. Looking like crabs in the barrel. Wanna gossip, wanna judge. What if we all just unified and put all our differences aside to preserve our way of life and be black and keep our pride and be kings under God and speak words that are wise and don't glorify things that took our fucking people lives. We've been oppressed so long, we feeding on our own, disconnected from our people, stuck in zombie mode. Children of the lost tribes, let's go back to Israel. They say I'm trivial, but I swear it's biblical. We need to come together, not only at funeral. I'm so tired of fucking funeral.